Hello, everybody. My name is Caden Lincoln. Today I will be talking about how global warming and climate change is affecting the Eskimo population. Eskimo, when thought of, is a word that gets often stereotyped with tundra, igloos, fur coats, a lot of offensive stereotypes. However, Eskimo is just a term referring to the native people that are above the Canadian American borderline and also native inhabitants of Alaska. Global warming has become a serious issue in today's world. It has caused glaciers to melt. It has caused natural habitat to become soggy, as well as just affecting the overall economical status of the Eskimo people. So the main things that I will be covering today is how is global warming and climate change affecting individual populations of the Eskimo people. We will be talking about the hunter's perspective. We'll be talking about the scientific perspective as well as the governmental perspective. So first, let's take a look at the hunter's perspective. Hunters have been around for as long as man has, gathering this mound of knowledge to pursue their prey and hunt and to be able to harvest these animals. However, how good is knowledge from thousands of years ago today when the habitat has changed so much and is changing even more so now in today's world? Global warming has caused ice shelves to break off. It has caused the habitats to shrink, causing more population density, limiting the amount of a species that is huntable, and also affecting the overall population of certain fish that they are fishing. So, hunters now have to learn not only to adapt to the climate but also to the new potential risks. Before, they were confidently able to go out on these ice sheets and be able to fish off of them, use them as practical land, and as well as set up camp on them. However, this is no longer the case. With global warming comes a new fear and a new danger, which is ice sheet breaking. Ice sheets can break off in these big, large chunks that can often leave Eskimo fishermen as well as hunters stranded out in the ocean with no way to return home without swimming through the Arctic waters, which nobody is capable of. So now hunters have had to learn to adapt to tread this ice more carefully and learn for what signs are good and what signs are bad. So moving on from the hunter's perspective, now we're going to dive into what does science say about the effects of climate change. Scientists all over the world agree that global climate change average has risen due to greenhouse gas emissions emitted by humans. The rise in temperature is affecting the ecological status of their land. The area that is most affected is areas without snow cover and areas that are considered dark blue ocean, as these two areas absorb much more heat than ice and snow do. And with this also comes another downside, is with every year a thaw happens and it melts the snow and the ice to a certain extent, not completely, but with this melt, it's causing these natural habitats to shrink in size. It's creating more of a population density, more competition between species, as well as limited resources for these species. So moving on, final thing I'm going to touch on today is what does the government have to say? Unfortunately, for the Inupiat Eskimos, which is the exact people that I will be talking about, they only have an ICAS, which stands for the Inupiat Council of the Arctic Slope. It's a council that has meetings with both the Canadian as well as Alaskan and national government to kind of discuss what they're noticing, because they know when something's going awry. It is the closest thing, the ICAS is the closest thing to an internal government that the Eskimos have for representation in government, as well as their morals and standards as people. And here recently, the ICIS has came under a lot of scrutiny and pressure for responding faster and more accurately to the rising climate temperature. The ICIS is incapable of passing laws to change the status of the political environment. They do, however, trust the government that they will make the right decisions, and that's really all they can afford to do in this situation. So what does this mean for the Eskimos moving on? Moving on into the future, the possibility of them passing new acts is certainly going to rise with continuous pressure and environmental change. The Eskimo people can only do so much to adjust to their natural landscape before it's too late. So now that you understand how climate change is affecting the native people's landscape, the way that each group reacts to climate change gives an internal representation to the natives' perspectives on the issue. You saw the hunters and how they're more fearful for their natural tasks. You saw the scientists and how even science is backing up the fact that bad things are happening. And you've also seen the government that is doing everything it can to help its people continue to thrive in their natural landscape. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Caden Lincoln.